From restaurants to bartenders, and now even online delivery services, it seems like every transaction comes with that invisible 20% surcharge. Welcome to the world of tipping fatigue, where the expected gratuities are adding up. This is the Sonic Boomers Podcast. I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
And we're talking about tipping fatigue. And yes, it is a very real thing.
I think the fact that they came up with a word for it shows you that it's a real thing.
A lot of people will say to you, I'm really sick and tired of being expected to tip for everything that I buy and everything that I do.
It seems like everybody's got their hand out, yeah.
And I think if it's a face-to-face service where somebody is actually doing something for you, like a waitress, a waiter, I think it's mandatory. At least I think culturally mandatory. If you're walking into the fast food place and you're going to be there hopefully less than a minute, just get your donut and coffee and be out the door, I don't feel like tipping.
No, I wouldn't either.
And yet you'll go into a fast food place and you'll see a tip jar.
Well, they're hoping, you know.
Yeah.
And if you want to, that's up to you.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't feel pressured. I wouldn't feel like it was necessary.
The thing to remember is that the people that you see behind the counter are salaried employees.
Right.
If they're making minimum wage in New Jersey, they're making $15.49 an hour, which I think for that kind of work, and I'm not trying to denigrate it in any way, but for that kind of work, that's about what should be appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a job where you're like a waiter or a waitress, you're a server, you're bringing people stuff, you're running around all the time, waitresses and servers are on their feet all day, I think that requires a tip.
Plus, they're being paid less per hour.
They're being paid less, but here's where it gets interesting. And I didn't know this until I looked this up. And this was according to the New Jersey State Department of Labor.
Okay.
If you are a waiter or waitress, your minimum cash, and this is where it gets gray, the cash wage, guaranteed minimum wage, $6.05 an hour.
Okay, but that's way below the $15.49.
Correct. So your server is going to theoretically make that up in tips. The law requires your server to be making $15.92 an hour.
It's interesting that it's not exactly the same amount as the
I
minimum
thought that
wage.
too. I thought, and I looked it up twice, and and it was that's what it was published as. And okay, it's only 50 cents.
Right.
But it states that if your server is not making $15.92 an hour,
Combined with
cash and tips, the employer, the owner of the diner, the restaurant, has to make up the difference.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So in theory, your servers are getting $15.92 an hour in some combination of cash and tips.
Minimally.
Minimally.
They could be making a lot more if they have a good, generous tippers.
So this is why I think when you go to a diner, especially, if the diner isn't busy, the manager will often send waiters and waitresses home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that happen.
And say, we're having a slow day, we don't have enough people, so we need you to go home. Or they might even call them before the shift starts and say, don't come in today, we're having a slow day.
And this is because the employer does not want to make up the difference between the $6 and the $15.
Right. That what else can it be?
Yeah.
So that appears to be how this works. Now, who do you think are the worst tippers generationally and the best tippers?
I never remember what the terminology for each generation is. I would say the youngest people, what are they, the Gen Z? Z. I would think that they would be the worst tippers, because they're usually have the least amount of income to spend. They may be still in college, or they're just getting out and they've got college loans and things to consider, so they're not having a lot of surplus. And I think too that they're used to doing Venmo and putting it on their card and transferring money back and forth, PayPal, Venmo, things like that. And I think that they don't do the tips so much.
I don't even know what Venmo is. I barely know what PayPal is.
It's a similar type thing. It's a way of paying online without.
Yeah, but
cash.
because I see the young people just take out their phone
Right,
and they pay something,
right.
or they buy something from a friend of theirs, and they just transfer.
And transfer it over, yeah.
Yeah, and in some of these cases, I guess there isn't an option built in for tipping. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I've only used PayPal, and I'm trying to think. It depends on what you're ordering from. Some of them do say, do you want a tip, and some don't.
Now, Gen Z has an interesting take on tipping, and that is it shouldn't be necessary. That employers should pay their workers a sufficient wage where they don't have to have their hand out looking for a tip.
Yeah.
And what customers, I think, are going to say is, oh, listen, we're cool with people making a living wage. But as a customer, as a guy that goes to Burger King, don't ask me to subsidize that.
Right. We don't want to be paying $10 for a $2 burger just to because.
And if you've been to a fast food place lately, and we almost never do fast food. We haven't done fast food in ages. And just a few weeks ago, while we were on vacation, we stopped at a McDonald's. And for what you're getting, and by the way, the burgers are smaller. Have you checked out the size of the burger, of the Big Mac? They should put big with little quotation marks around it because, listen, there ain't nothing big about the Big Mac. And even the fries, and McDonald's has got the best fries, but even the bag of fries, you're getting less fries. And the prices have skyrocketed at McDonald's. You know, you used to be able to go in there for a family of 3 and get out cheaply. Now you're coming out with, $40.
Yeah, at least.
So the Gen Zers are saying, hey, we can't even afford to tip if we wanted to, even though we think it's a bad social structure that needs to be revamped. We are getting hit with high, we're going to be in debt the rest of our lives coming out of college.
Yeah.
And jobs are hard to get and so on. And we could do a whole show about those people who, well, no, there are jobs out there, but I don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to make that kind of money. I want to start out as vice president in charge of operations, when I come out with my bachelor's. But that's a whole nother show. But Gen Z is, they are challenging the norm of tipping. Let the companies pay better wages. And of course, that's never going to happen in these United States.
But
Not from corporate America.
No, not in the United States, but in Europe it does, which is interesting to me.
Different culture.
It's a different culture, and they make it work. And I think that the Gen Z is, pushing for us to work our way into that kind of a model.
Yeah, and good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck. We will be long gone by the time that happens, if it ever happens at all. But, corporate America does not love you, folks. Never did, never will. And by the way, 70% of the people that have been polled on the idea of forcing companies to pay more to eliminate tipping, 78% of the people polled said, yeah, we agree.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Because those are also the people that will say to you, well, I don't want to pay $20 for a Whopper.
See, that's it's all in the asking. It depends on how the question was phrased to them. If you say to somebody, do you think that employers should be paying their employees enough that they don't need tips? I think in theory, almost everybody would agree with that. But if you say, okay, what price are you willing to pay for this to happen?
Are you willing to pay more for that hamburger?
Now it becomes a different question.
Yeah, because it's coming out of their pocket. Millennials and Gen X's, by the way, are the best tippers.
Okay.
Gen Z, the worst tippers. And we, the baby boomers, tend to tip more across the board. We tip more people for more things, but we tip a little bit less.
A little more conservatively, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense because, a lot of the baby boomers were now on retirement income, fixed income. And even though we may have more discretionary funds to pay out because our kids are grown, or maybe our mortgages are paid off, or we've come a long way, they still are very frugal. They were brought up by people who lived through the Depression.
Yes.
And instilled values of not wasting money in the baby boomer generation. So I think that we tend to want to be generous, we want to be fair, but we also don't go overboard.
People are saying that overall, they are tipping less. Across the board.
They are tipping less.
Tipping less. Everybody is. Because of economic pressures, inflation.
If you got, there's less to give.
Yeah. I got killed at the supermarket. My mortgage went up. My taxes went up. My insurance went up. My electric bill went up.
Right.
Everything has gone up except your income. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you've got to cut it from somewhere, and it's going to be cut maybe on the tipping side. People are also increasingly offended by tipping prompts for non-personal services like a kiosk.
Okay.
You go to Dunk's and you get a coffee and a donut or something. You don't even go to the counter. Again, we don't go to Dunkin' Donuts a lot. And the first time I walked into one, they had the kiosk. And I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, yeah.
And the guy says, well, you order your thing. I say, yeah, but I'm standing in the store. No, but you have to use the kiosk. No, I don't want to use the kiosk. I want to talk to you. I'm looking at you. I want a couple of donuts and a couple of coffees, and I'm on my way. No, you have to go into the kiosk. Why? Damn it, somebody tell me why I have to go into a friggin' machine. And then the machine will ask you.
Oh, he's getting frantic now.
Would you like to leave a tip? Who am I going to tip? Fucking IBM? Who am I going to tip?
Yeah, tip the AI robot. I think they probably use that for inventory purposes and things like that, that everything is automated, that by putting it in on the kiosk side, there's a program that's running in the background.
Why? And when I researched this,
Yeah.
it said in some of the retail establishments that use a kiosk, it is up to the management to decide if it wants to put a tip prompt in there. So you might go into a Dunk's and there's no tip prompt. You might go into another one owned by a different person and there's a prompt.
Yeah.
I am praying to the retail gods to have a one-on-one, face-to-face interaction with you to buy coffee and a donut, and I'm punching things into a machine, and you want me to leave a 20% tip? What?
So don't leave one then.
I'm gonna break a blood vessel.
Calm down.
Our daughter was right. She used to say, "Dad, when you get upset, your voice goes way up."
It does.
All right, so let's talk about some of the tipping norms in 2025. Now, we did a show on tipping a few years ago, and I thought it was interesting that the numbers really have not changed at all in the last 3 or 4 years since we did that show.
Well, I think when you're talking tipping, it's quite often talking in terms of percentages. So percentage-wise, I don't anticipate that it would change much. A 15% tip is pretty much acceptable. But 15% of a $10 order versus 15% of a $20 order is different. So the numbers have gone up out of your pocket, but the percentages haven't.
So you go into a restaurant. What do you leave? What do you think?
15, 20%.
Yeah, 15, 20%. 15 is the average, 20% for really good service. And sometimes if the service is like really over the top good, then if you want to leave even more than 20%, that's up to you. You say you go to a bar, and I didn't know this at all because it's not my wheelhouse.
Right.
You and we don't go to bars, except Bars Landing in Atlantic Highlands. That's the only bars we go to. But if you go to a bar and you're being Mr. Magnanimous, I'm going to buy a round for my friends, then that's 15 to 20% tip. for your bartender. If it's just you stopping by Kelsey's bar for a drink or two at the end of a hard day, then it's $1 or $2 per drink for the
Right.
bartender.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think those are reasonable. Now, here's one. You go to a wedding and they have an open bar and they have a tip jar. What do you do as you grab your whiskey sour or your bud? What do you do?
What do? I ignore it.
What do you think most people do?
I think it's probably 50-50. I think some people probably feel obligated to put money in the jar and some don't. But to me, the bartender probably deserves tips because they're working hard. But the person paying the bill is the person that should be paying the tip. Your hosts of the event are the ones paying the bartender. They're the ones that are obligated to tip. You are there as a guest. No money is changing hands. There's no reason for you to be tipping.
The financial experts say, yes, it is the host that should be paying the gratuities for the bartenders for the evening.
I agree with that.
And I agree too. Although you do feel guilty if you've got a bunch of people around you and they're all sticking a little something in the jar.
Yeah.
You feel guilty for not doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And of course, the trick is when you put your tip jar out, you always throw a couple of bucks in
Of
there
course.
on a delivery.
Okay.
Now, in this case, I'm just going to say pizza delivery because when you're ordering something from UPS, Amazon, any of those services where the big truck comes up to your house, those people are on salary.
Right.
And the rule of thumb is people that are on salary, you do not tip.
Okay.
If they are not on salary, they are there as an hourly worker, then you may want to consider tipping that person. If it's a face-to-face transaction, which again, I so desperately tried to have, you tip. If it's not a face-to-face transaction, don't worry about tipping.
Yeah.
So delivery comes, pizza man, what do you tip him?
I would tip them, a good 10% or so.
Yeah. It says 15 to 20.
Okay, 15 to 20.
We order a pizza, anytime we order pizza, anything where they come to the $5.
Yeah.
That's my standard tip, $5. Hotel, airport, cruise porters.
Oh, definitely give them out something.
They work their ass off.
And you want to make sure that your bags don't get lost.
Yeah.
That your stuff doesn't get banged around. It's worth like $2 a bag, $5 a bag.
And a lot of these guys even go out of their way. I remember the one cruise that we went on a couple of years ago, and the porter came for the bag, and he saw that we had your mobility scooter
Right.
in there. And if you've ever dealt with one of these, they are heavy AF. And the guy was like, let me help you with that. And he helped me get it out and get it set up. And then when I went to park, he said, I'll stay here with your wife while you go park the car and I'll make sure that she's okay. And he waited till I came back. That's somebody that you give a nice tip to.
Absolutely.
You give that
Above and
person
beyond.
above and beyond. I tip $5 per bag. And that person got even more. Now you're in a hotel, motel. What do you do about housekeeping?
It depends on how long I'm staying and how much the maid is doing to your room. If I'm there one night, I don't necessarily feel like I need to tip because they're going to make up that room anyway. It was made up before you got in there. You're going to check out in the morning and they're going to make it up after you leave. You are not the recipient of anything over and above special services. Now, if I'm there all week and the maid is coming in every day and straightening up and doing things for you, yes, then I would tip.
The experts say $3 to $5 for every night of your stay.
Now, is that per person in the room or is that for the room?
You know, it didn't specify.
Because I've seen, again, this is another area where I'm a little bit cheap maybe, but I've seen hotels where they say per $3 to $5 per person. Well, if I'm going to spend, say, if the two of us are there and we're going to spend $6 to $10 a day, we could have afforded to stay longer if we didn't have to pay that. I decide what I want to pay them and give them give them a tip for the week, like, whatever, $20.
Not based on is it one of us or two of us.
Right,
or-
and I don't sit there and say so much per day. I just, I look at what I've got in my wallet and I say, okay.
I think $3 to $5 a day is reasonable if you're doing a 5-night stay. You're out $15-$25.
Yeah.
But if it's per person, well, now you're out $30 to $50. Well, now we're kind of getting up there.
Yeah.
What do you folks think? Put it down in the comments. Do you think that if there's 2 of you in the room, you should each ante up $3 to $5 a day for your housekeeping, or should it just be for the 2 of you combined? Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, I think like I said, it really depends on what kind of services they're providing. On a cruise ship, they're leaving you candy, they're turning down your bed,
They're leaving you a towel
animal, they're refreshing all the towels in your washroom.
And who doesn't love a good towel animal? In fact, that's going to be a podcast for us in the future. Towel animals.
How about
them? You may have noticed that we are putting out more shows.
We're trying.
We're trying to get back on track. We used to do the show once a week. I can't believe that we did it for like the first 2 years or so, 1 show a week. But you do find out as time goes on, it gets a little harder to do because you're looking to come up with ideas that you haven't done before. If you have an idea for us other than get out of the business, leave it for us in the comments about something that you'd like to hear us talk about on future editions of the Sonic Boomers podcast. And we've done several shows based on listener input.
Yes, we have.
It's not the kind of thing where we read it and then do what we want to do anyway.
We listen.
That's what management does when you're in a company. But we want to know what you think. Okay, now we're going to do what we want to do anyway. That's not the way that we do it here on the Sonic Boomers. So leave your comments below. And by the way, we're asking you for a tip now. And that is, no, we don't want your money. We want you to like and subscribe, because when you do that, it helps us reach more listeners and more viewers. So can you help a couple old people out? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Sonic Boomers podcast. I'm Pete.
And I'm Maureen.
We'll see you next time.